Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello. This is Antonio of the Cultworthy podcast, and you're listening to Sugar-Coated Murder, a deliciously decadent true crime podcast about murder and muffins. Put your bib on, because your hosts Ann and Karen have whipped up some tasty tales of untimely death, and nothing makes murder go down smoother than the delectable goodies fresh from their oven. So sit back, have a drink, and make room for murder. Sugar-Coated Murder. Bon appetit.
Sugar, before we get started, I have a story to tell you.
Oh, yes. Please do tell me.
So, I was chatting with this girl at work. I never really met her, but she's a nice girl, and she's on kind of on my team at work. So, we were chatting.
Go team.
That's us. Go team, go. Actually, I think we try to make each other laugh during the day for sanity's sake. It's like a sanity check. Yeah, we both know that we are stressed at our jobs and we have a lot on our plates. And so if we can figure out some way to make the other person chuckle. And she really made me chuckle today. She told me a real life true story.
Nuh-uh.
So she has a 15-year-old daughter in high school. Just so take yourself back to 15 years old in high school.
It was terrible.
It was tough.
Rough going.
So her daughter calls her today and says, Mom, I have a little bit of an emergency. I need you to bring me some clothes.
Oh.
And her mom was like, what in the world is wrong? And she said, well, I got my days confused and I showed up to school dressed as a unicorn.
Oh, no.
It turns out it's not the right day.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine?
No.
It's like that scene from Bridget Jones' Diary when she shows up looking like a hoe bag and everybody else has on festive Christmas sweaters.
Oh, my God.
Can you believe that? Her mom said, just tell him that today you identify as a unicorn.
There you go.
She's like, Mom, I really need for you to come and bring me some food. I mean, some clothes. Yeah, I thought that was so funny. I chuckled about that all day long.
No.
Because just think about, she's 15, so she doesn't drive.
Right.
So she probably got on the bus dressed as a unicorn, and she's wondering why nobody else is in the spirit. Like, what is wrong with people? And then she gets to school, and the audience widens, and she's like, "Oh, what's happening?" And they were like, "What are you doing?"
Oh,
and yeah, she said her friends got a great kick out of it, huge kick. And I said, I just wish I hope somebody snapped a picture of her dressed like that for the yearbook, because that is something that they will talk about for a long time.
Oh, yes.
I said that's going to be incorporated into whatever toast somebody gives at her wedding.
Yes.
So they'll say something like, "We're just happy you didn't show up as a unicorn today." So I just thought that was so funny, and I wanted to tell you about it because it really made me giggle.
Well, now I giggled.
Yeah, and it's kind of Halloweenish because it is about a Halloween costume.
Yes.
So
Very funny.
I know. So anyway, I just wanted to share.
Thank you.
Hey, Sugar.
Hi.
How's it going?
Well, it's fall.
Fall, y'all.
We have Antonio here.
We love Antonio.
I
We
know.
adore him.
You stole that right out of my mouth.
We adore his velvet voice.
Oh, you are such a stealer.
No.
That's my
no.
line. That's all my lines. Anyway, we're talking really fast because we've been recording for the last 30 minutes and I forgot to hit record
Yeah.
because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And it's morning. And so it's okay because now we have Bailey's. Life is going to be better.
This is what happens when
this
we
is what
try to
happens.
record and not drink.
This is what happens
never
when you
works
don't
out.
drink.
We have to drink when we
Yes.
record. We
Kay
have
and Jay
to.
say we drink because we work. Ann and I drink because we can't function if we don't.
Correct. It's
That's
better
all.
for everyone.
It's just better for everybody.
And it's Saturday. You shouldn't feel bad about it, you know?
That's true. So that voice right there, that velvety voice that we adore,
Yeah.
that's Antonio.
Yes.
He has 2 podcasts, and he's getting ready to launch a 3rd one because the man has
A trifecta.
and he's got endless talent.
Endless.
And if you could see a picture of this man's studio, it will make you sick with envy.
It will make me weep.
Weep with envy.
Yeah.
But anyway, just to recap, it's fall.
It's fall, and
We've
we've got
had-
Antonio. He's got a velvet voice, and we adore him.
Yes.
Antonio, you want to talk to us about your podcast?
Tell us about your podcastesses.
Oh, hello, ladies. Yes.
Sorry.
Welcome to our whirlwind.
Welcome to the chaos that is us.
I love it. It makes me feel calmer now because when I think I'm chaotic, now I know what true chaos looks like.
That's
So
right. It's these two right here. Right here.
those two right there. Look up the dictionary, the word chaos. We got you right there.
We've been
Yep.
dealing out chaos for the last 30 years. Not that we're 30.
No.
Well, like you said, my name is Antonio. I'm the host of the Cultworthy podcast and the Cultworthy Classic. And the third podcast, which is yet to be revealed. You two know about it, but I'm keeping it under wraps until it's a little bit closer to go time. But yeah, my first show, the Cultworthy podcast, is dedicated to obscure films and cult cinema. We have guests on. We talk about obscure movies, cult-worthy films. And I actually had you two on there at the beginning of summer where we talked about summertime films,
That was so much
where we
fun.
coined a new phrase when we talked about Bull Durham. And that phrase was horny baseball, which
wow.
if I had
One
the
of my
money, I'd
favorite
trademark
sports.
it.
I mean, we got to be able to get some mileage out of this horny baseball
Oh,
situation.
yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
I can say. So,
Yeah,
we
I
have to
picked like
figure
a
it out.
dull, stupid movie, and then you pull in with the Bull Durham horny baseball, and
Well,
it's like,
here's
what
the
did
thing.
she even talk about?
Well, listen, it is one of my faves, and it is a favorite summertime movie. But I'm just saying, we need to start a podcast called
Horny
Horny Baseball.
That's a great
I feel
idea.
like no matter what we talk about, people will tune in.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
And of course, especially with the way I describe baseball,
Yeah, how you
because
get
I'm an
points.
avid baseball fan. I watch baseball
She does.
every single
And yet
night.
she doesn't know the language.
I know
or
the
rules.
language. I choose not to use their language.
That's true.
So
Yeah. So
I
when
talk
they
about
run,
points.
they run across and they get to that fourth base, they scored a point.
We got a point. Woo!
So anyway, back
Now you just
you,
have to find a way to
Antonio.
make it sound sensual.
I'll leave
Oh,
that to
that's
my
not a
horny
problem.
baseball sister.
That is not a problem.
I'll
for
talk
me at all.
logistics and leave the dirty
I can
part
do
to
that
her.
with or without alcohol. My mind's been in the gutter
Oh, my
for the last
goodness.
50 years. And what's that other one that you have?
Okay,
No,
my other show is a Cultworthy Classic, which is
Classic.
about obscure films and cinema made before 1970. So that's where I talk about the old movies, the movies that probably inspired the filmmakers who made the films I talk about in my first podcast. So that's
Right.
the more distinguished one. I talk about the older films, the classics, where the Cultworthy podcast, I'm talking about horror films, slasher films, and of course, horny baseball films.
Can't get enough of that. But I like it how it's definitely part of his brand. It's not just about film, but I really like the fact that anything before 70 is considered classic. So
we're classics.
We're classics.
We are classics.
We're not classy.
No, God
We're
no.
classics.
No, no.
Classic.
That's us.
This show, I don't have to talk about murder.
It is
I
exciting.
didn't have to do any research.
You got the
All I
day
had
off.
to do was bake.
Yeah. And what'd you bake?
Because it's fall, y'all. I picked a recipe that's got caramel and apples and
Gosh,
gooiness.
yes. You know
It's-
why you did that?
Because it's fall, y'all.
And because apple is the OG seasonal fall food.
Yeah,
The
pumpkin.
OG.
Agreed.
Sit down,
can
pumpkin.
Sit the freak down because I'm not
Yeah,
a
go to
big
your
fan of the
corner and
pumpkin. Get out.
Pumpkin.
This is called a caramel apple pull-apart bread, which is similar to a monkey bread.
I love a monkey bread.
Mhm. Where you use your biscuits and butter and brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, apples, and little caramel bits.
All the things that
Oh
make
my
up my
God,
life.
so good. And then you take those refrigerator biscuits that have the lard in them. You know,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
see the chunks, and then you put butter on them.
Yeah, because there's not enough fat.
No.
Mhm.
And you layer these biscuits and all of the ooey gooiness, and you stand everything up on its side in a long line. And it takes about an hour and a half to cook. And in the end, we should have some kind of delightful pull
That
apart
we don't
bread.
even have to cut with a knife. You just reach in there and grab you
Grab
some.
it. Just
It's
grab
like
it.
grabbing ass, but you're grabbing bread.
Grab ass.
You just grab ass nut bread and get them apples and caramels right in your mouth.
Yes, indeed. I cannot
Yeah,
wait.
That's some horny apple bread.
And while that's baking, I'm hoping that y'all can entertain me with some stories.
Well, here's the great part. Antonio, he brought a murder,
You
which
know,
we
I
so
love a
appreciate.
guest that brings a murder.
Oh, Antonio.
It's like a housewarming gift, only better.
Yeah, it's like a hostess gift.
Hostess gift. Yeah.
Thanks for having me over. here's a murder.
Yes.
Yeah, no wine or flowers. Just a
Perfect.
murder. That's what speaks to us.
What you got for us, Antonio?
Mr. Velvet Voice.
All right. So I brought you to stay on my brand a murder about a cult movie icon.
Mm.
So there are lots of murders in Hollywood that either went unsolved or they left people wondering if they were actually unsolved on purpose. There was so much corruption in early day Hollywood of stars and directors who couldn't get out of contract disputes. So they either conveniently were murdered or disappeared or whatever. It's
Wow.
a really shady industry when you go back and look into the history of it.
Well, when you talk about murder of convenience, it gets a little shady. Yeah.
But today I'm going to be talking about a cult movie icon named Al Adamson. Have either of you heard of this guy?
No, not
no,
heard
we don't
of
get
Al.
out much.
No.
I don't know anybody named Al.
Well,
Al. You can call me Al.
you're not
I could call
alone
you
because
Al.
not many people have heard of him either.
Oh, good.
In
I
fact,
don't feel so
his
bad.
death may be his biggest claim to fame, which is why this story is so interesting to me. So, yeah. So today, I'm going to regale you with the life and death of this schlock director named
Schlock.
Al.
What a great
Adamson.
word. Schlock.
Regale. I like the regale. I
Schlock.
like that he's regaling us. Like, I've not been regaled in so long. Forgot what it
It's been
felt
a
like.
long
That's not
time
a
since I've
problem.
been regaled.
I know, but now, I mean, regale away.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Regale us.
I'm here. I'm here to regale.
Oh, I love that.
So this guy, he was mostly acknowledged for being a master of low-budget exploitation features for drive-in movie theaters and grindhouse theaters. So his movies were not playing in big, luxurious theaters or in cinemas across the country. It was really places where like teenagers would go to make out. Or there are some theaters in Hollywood that would just play these grindhouse movies all day long, and homeless people would just hang out there all day and watch them so they didn't have to be outside. Like these really didn't have
Cool.
much of an audience. It's a really interesting genre.
So, can I ask a really quick question? What's a grindhouse?
Yeah.
Because
I was just Googling it.
hip name of like a place you get coffee.
Oh, I was thinking
It was a term
a
for
little
a
dirtier.
theater. Yeah, it was a term for a theater that usually they were old, traditional theaters that were converted into these movie theaters, mostly on 42nd Street in New York or in downtown Los Angeles, that would just play these low budget films all day, all night. They never cleaned or repaired their projectors, so they were known to grind through these film reels, and they just became
Oh.
grindhouses.
It was
Wow.
like a set
So
it
it's an
and forget it
industry term.
situation. Like you just turn that
Pretty
projector on
much.
and go home.
Yeah.
And then you come back at night when it's time to
Right.
clean up. That's pretty cool. Okay, well, so you didn't get
Yeah.
coffee there.
No, I don't think anybody was
No.
getting coffee.
No. Well, listen, Dirty
I
Bird,
think
they weren't
you. I
grinding
think you
either.
got.
There were a lot of
No, I think you
X-rated
got tetanus.
grindhouse. Yeah. Tetanus.
I'd like to have a shot of tetanus with a shot of syphilis.
with a, and watch a movie at the same time. Sounds like a good time to me. I don't know.
Entertain me, absolutely.
Yeah, so this guy was kind of like meant to be in this industry. He was born in Hollywood in 1929, and he was the son of a silent film actress named Dolores Booth and an actor-director named Victor Adamson. And they were kind of rebels in this whole early silent film era of Hollywood. We had big studios like Warner Brothers, MGM, things like that, but there were also these little B-movie companies who had fled New York City to come to Hollywood because back in those early days, the mob kind of owned the silent film industry. They would steal cameras, they would secure locations on rooftops and back alleys, and they wanted to own a piece of the business. And that is why Jewish filmmakers from New York fled to Hollywood and became the epicenter of what the film industry is known today.
That's so
Escaping
interesting. Because
the
I
mob.
never knew.
No
I
idea.
never knew why Hollywood. Like why?
Why? Yeah.
I mean, why?
What's the deal?
It just seemed so random.
Well, the
No,
biggest
no.
reason, the biggest reason was because it's always sunny. So before they had studios with lights, they were filming on rooftops or out in these orange groves and pastures. So they needed natural light to film these films. So even films that were made to look like they were inside a building or inside a room, it was a facade. It was actually just built, the back wall and the side wall, and the rest was outside so the sun could light the film.
That's amazing.
Oh, brilliant.
I had no idea.
Brilliant.
That's
Right.
That is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, so this guy, Al Adamson, he was raised in this B-movie industry of the silent film era with his parents. And as he was growing up, his dad would use him as a stunt man, as an actor, as an extra. And then finally, in the early 50s, he got his opportunity to make his own film, which was called Halfway to Hell. It was a Western. And not only did he write it and direct it and produce it, he also starred as several members of the cast. He would dress up like a Native American in one scene, hit cut, put on a cowboy outfit, jump into that next scene, be a cowboy. There are actually moments in the film where he's actually killing himself, where he is the cowboy shooting the Native American, and the Native American is him. Like, that was his groundbreaking career.
So tired after, my
It's
God.
exhausting. But I mean, good on him. He was just such a broad actor.
I mean,
That's awesome.
wow.
Right. But like, he wasn't satisfied in just being a director and an actor and a stuntman. If he was going to be doing all the work anyway, he wanted all the profit and all the credit. So he started his own production company in the early 1960s, and he called it Independent International Pictures, which was very similar to several other names of big studios. He did that on purpose so he could go to the bank and have the bank think that he was one of these more prestigious studios and give him more money for his productions.
I mean, this guy is brilliant beyond his years.
He really is. He's a genius.
Wow.
He's a filmmaker genius.
Al, way to go.
Way to go, Al. Big fan, Al.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Big fan.
So the thing was, in the 50s and 60s, Westerns were starting to kind of die out. Like, there were still the big budget ones that had vast landscapes and things like that, but he couldn't afford that. He needed to find a genre that was fast, cheap, and easy, literally and figuratively,
like
to make.
What? Who said that? It's the best.
I set her up for that.
Person. You really set her up for that thing. I mean, you just like tossed that right over to her.
And I hit it out of the park.
Yeah, you did it.
Just like baseball.
Slam
Like baseball.
So the genre that was really known for that in those days was horror, gore, and sexploitation films. Great combo, if you ask me.
I mean, it is like a trifecta.
There
It's
you
a whole
go.
meal.
The whole meal.
You got a whole meal.
Whole
right there.
meal.
It's not just
It's a
snack.
3-course meal.
It is a 3-course meal. It is a whole meal. It's not a snack. That's not a film snack.
No, it's a meal.
It's big. It's big.
All of it. Take it all.
Oh my.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
The baby.
So like I said, yeah, this guy was never known to waste a penny, and he was already making these films on a micro budget, but he came up with something kind of brilliant. What he would do is, let's say he would get money to make a film. How these low margin B-movie producers made money. It was never about breaking the bank. If they broke the bank, great, but they never really did. It was all about sustainability. So you would want to make just enough money on a film to be able to pay back your banker and streamline that money into your next production. It was always about making the next production as fast as you can, so the bankers never really catch up with you asking for that money back. And hopefully at the end of your run, you've got a nice chunk of change. But really, it was just about sustainability, chasing the dream, so to speak.
That's interesting, but I can understand
So
that.
to be able to get the most out of his dollar, what he would do is he would make a film, and then he would release it in a very low popular market like the Midwest or somewhere in South America, get a little bit of money from it, and then he would take that same film, re-edit it, switch the plot around, maybe throw in some scenes from another film, change the title, and then re-release it maybe once or twice more in the same year. So in some ways, he was getting like triple profits off the same initial production.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow, Al. Wow.
Yeah, if we could do that
With our
with our podcast,
Oh my gosh.
we would be less tired.
We would
just
be
less
tired. We'd have to drink less.
Oh,
You could just mix the murders up.
Oh my God.
Do you
I
think anyone's
agree.
really fact checking your murders anyway?
I don't
Probably not.
know. I don't know. But here's the thing: we could do. we could steal a little of Antonio's show and a little bit of Dan's show, a little bit of Matt's show, and J and K and the Wilsons, and just like put it in a cup and shake it and then roll the dice. And then that's how we string that episode together.
Yeah, that sounds very complicated.
It is.
I was thinking maybe we could just switch our murders.
Like if I went first, I go second the next time.
No. Yeah. So this episode, it's me, then you, and next episode, it's you, then me, but the same murders. We're just switching the murder.
I'm going to say
that way, if
our
somebody
listeners
falls
might be
asleep.
just a little bit, like, I think Mama would be really mad. She'd be really
Oh, no.
Mama would be very
She'd be so confused.
She'd be so
like,
mad
wait
at
a
us.
minute.
She's like, what are you girls doing? I never, ever taught you to take a shortcut.
Oh, Mama.
So
we won't do it.
We'll keep
it on the up and
just
up.
because Mama would know.
All right, let's hear what's going on.
All right,
What's going on with Al?
This is where things kind of get a little bit difficult for Al, because throughout the 60s and 70s, he's getting this popularity for making these low-budget horror films. Here are some of the titles. They're pretty great. So he kicked it off with Satan's Sadists, which was his take on a Hell's Angels movie, a biker movie.
Oh.
Hell's Bloody Devils, Angels Wild Women, Naughty Stewardesses, and then this one is my favorite, Black Samurai.
Okay.
Which was about a black samurai.
Wow.
Well, okay. I mean, okay. Did he play that black samurai?
Oh, you know what? I'm surprised he didn't. He actually got a very popular actor back in the day who was kind of on his way out of his career. And that's kind of what he was doing. You know who Ed Wood is, right? From the movie?
Right.
So, the whole story of Ed Wood is he kind of finished off his career with Bela Lugosi, who was the tail end of his career and life. Al Adamson did the same thing. He was going out and finding these silent film actors or horror film stars from the 30s and 40s, like Lon Chaney Jr. and John Carradine, and just putting them in everything so he could try and sell the project with these people's names.
Yeah. Nice.
But for them, it was like their last swan song.
Right.
It was like
their last hurrah, so to speak.
Yeah. That's I mean, again, Al, freaking smart. Freaking smart.
Way to go, Al.
Freaking smart. Agreed. And he had saved up enough money, had hundreds of these films, which a lot of them were the same film, under his belt. But something happened in the 80s. People stopped going to theaters and drive-ins to see these films because video came along. So he was able to sell a lot of these films to the video market and give himself like a nice little nest egg. So he stopped filmmaking around that time. He got married to a lovely former actress named Regina Carroll in 1970. And they took that money he made from his film industries and became real estate investors. Buying and selling houses in these little small towns on the outskirts of California because they knew that California's population would be growing. So they were buying houses in suburbs, flipping them, and he made a decent amount of money during that.
Oh, nice.
Way to go, Al.
I mean,
way to branch out.
Right?
Wow.
So proud of Al.
So they say that things kind of changed for him in the early 90s because in 1992, his wife succumbed to cancer and he spent the last years of her life using all the money he could, whatever fortune he had, on research and different experimental treatments for her. But unfortunately, she did pass away in 1992.
Aww.
And at that point, he became lost and directionless because he didn't really have his film career anymore. He had his whole life invested in his wife and this new company and this business. And he just didn't really know what to do with himself. So he retreated to a small town in California called Indio, which I've never been, and I've only heard of because of this story.
Oh, Indio.
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 It's like bingo.
Indio.
No, you didn't get there. You added a letter.
Well, I had to.
So it doesn't work.
Oh, so it's Indio.
But I think it's INDIO, not NDO. Like you're saying, it's not right.
It's just not right.
What you're doing is just not right. So just stop.
So while he was there, he met a drifter. This drifter's name was Fred Fulford. He met him at a gas station. And it's not really sure if this guy knew who Al was, But somehow they struck up a conversation, and this guy named Fred convinced him that he could help him with his real estate business by reconstructing and repairing some of these old houses and flipping them, thus reinvigorating this real estate investment property that Al had in Indio, California. And it was kind of refreshing for Al because having been lonely for this little bit after his wife passed away, here he had a friend in this guy named Fred. So for the first little bit, they were working together, they were inseparable, acting almost as best friends or brothers rather than an employer-employee dynamic. And that's where things kind of get sticky. Because after a while, it became apparent that Fred had grown very comfortable in his role as a friend and less as an employee.
Yeah. That's what happens
when you meet people at the gas station. That's what happens.
When you meet people at the gas station.
Yeah,
that's like the first rule in the book, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a golden
Don't take them home. Don't take home the people from the gas station. Don't do that.
No.
It leads to
you
murder.
don't buy sandwiches or sushi from the gas station, and you don't take home drifters. I think that's like the first rule.
Yes,
everyone knows.
Exactly.
I agree. But I have bought a fried chicken kind of a thing from a gas station.
That's fun. Just not a sandwich or sushi. That's just silly.
You got to deep fry it to get like the germs off of
Yeah, the
it.
deep fried.
Mhm.
Like those JoJo potatoes and corn dogs. I feel
There you
you're
go.
safer with those.
I think
Yes.
anything fried, it's just fried the hell out of it. It's fried all the bugs
You're good.
out.
You're good to go.
Mhm.
So friends and neighbors started noticing that Fred was performing very little work and had actually been seen wearing nicer clothes, driving a nicer car. Al was kind of going back and forth between Los Angeles and Indio, leaving Fred to himself, and really nothing was getting done. So they approached Al and said, hey, we think that this guy is using your credit cards. He's using whatever funds you have for his own financial needs. We're not seeing any work getting done on your properties. Al was kind of known, even though he was such a rough businessman and such a groundbreaking filmmaker in the sense of getting it done, putting his nose to the grindstone, he was actually very timid in real life. He didn't like confrontation with people. He didn't really feel comfortable getting in somebody's face. So after a few months went by and he saw that he was being drained by this guy, he decided to go back to Indio and have it out with Fred.
Oh, no.
He was never seen again.
Oh, ow.
Gosh, Al, you should have hired somebody to go talk to Fred.
Yeah.
Exactly. Brought some backup,
Dang.
So it's a really interesting story because the police got involved, but they had no clue as to where Fred was or where a murder weapon was or where the body was. It's at first it was assumed that Al might have just left town with Fred because there was very little evidence of any kind of foul play around the house. There was no blood. There was no weapon. There was no sign of struggle around the house. How the development of the case progressed was Al had a housekeeper who knew that Al was very fond of this hot tub in a spa room. He spent most of his days hanging out in the spa room, hanging out in the hot tub. It was the place where he just felt the most at peace. So one day when she was driving past the house, she saw Fred removing this hot tub from the spa room.
Oh, no.
That's weird. Al loves that hot tub. Why would Fred be getting it out of the house? So she told a few people this, and they said, you know what? Maybe you should tell the police this and have them investigate. So she told the police, hey, this hot tub got removed by Fred before Fred disappeared. It was Al's favorite room. He always hung out in it. I think there might be something to this. So, of course, the police, they bring in their methane detectors and their cadaver dogs. And sure enough, something sparked them to start digging in this brand new marble tiled area where the hot tub once was.
Oh,
and as they were digging deeper and deeper into this recess, the smell of death and decay hit them.
Oh, Al.
Poor Al.
So once Adamson's body was removed from the concrete floor, it was discovered that he'd been bludgeoned to death in a violent struggle and buried in the hole where his hot tub once lay, and then covered with this brand new, beautiful marble tile.
I think that was Fred's FU to Al.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you like that
I'm gonna-
hot tub so much, I'm gonna bury you underneath it, and then I'm gonna take the damn hot tub for myself.
Exactly. Like
That's
if
what
you
you
can't even
did.
keep it.
No, you can't even rest in peace under your favorite hot tub.
Too many crickets.
It's like that is salt in the wound.
Exactly.
Very
Yeah.
mean, Fred.
So it was nearly 2 months later, after a full-scale investigation, that agents found Fred Fulford hiding in the Coral Reef Hotel in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh,
He was
he picked
still
a nice
driving
spot.
Al's
Wow.
car. Yeah. He still had all of Al's credit cards. He was still spending them.
wow.
Did he
But they
have
got
Al's
them,
hot
you know?
tub in the back seat? That's what I want to know.
Right. Like
Was
if an
the
El
hot tub, like, was he
Camino.
like driving your car and your hot tub's in the back?
So at the end of the day, Fulford was charged and convicted of murder and sentenced to 25 years to life. Now, this happened in 1995. So he could potentially be out. I haven't really looked into that, but
You
it
need
was
to
a
tell us where
macabre
he is.
end.
Yeah. He's
Does
somewhere in
anyone know where
California.
Fred Fulford is?
Yeah, can you look that up, Sugar?
Oh,
Because
God,
I'm
I'm on it.
scared he might be living right here in South Kakalaki.
He moved in across the
He
way.
might have. Is there a new hot tub somewhere that we need to know about?
Fred
Or an old hot tub?
Fulford, Fulford,
Fulford.
F-U. F-U.
Yeah,
I heard him. I heard him say FU. I'm
FU.
ignoring it.
Antonio said F-U.
So
And he
while you're
doesn't
looking
have
that
to say
up,
sorry. Oh, okay, what you got?
while you're looking that up, how this kind of ends, there's an interesting twist to this. So while they were going through all of Al's personal belongings, they found piles and piles of unproduced scripts and stories and material for shows that never got produced. And in this stack, they found a script for a TV show that foreshadowed Al's demise. It was a story of a wealthy man who was killed by an employee of his and buried under the foundation of his house after a financial altercation.
So he predicted
coincidence?
his own death.
We don't know.
Wow.
We don't know if
crazy.
he predicted it or if maybe Fred, who was just doing nothing but hanging out in the house, maybe
he
read
found it and
some of
gave
these
him an
scripts
idea.
and he was like, hey, you know what? This is not a bad idea. If I ever have to take this guy out, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't like that Fred. I don't like him.
Well, he's still in jail.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah,
good to
he came
know.
up for parole,
him.
but he's been denied parole 3 times. He comes up again in 2024.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
he should go. Where
2
is
more
he?
years.
He's at a California healthcare facility.
I beg your pardon.
Type jail.
That doesn't sound like prison.
I think it is a prison for the elderly.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy'd probably be
that's my
old by
take on it.
now.
Yeah, he's in his 70s,
Okay, we should go see him
late 70s.
and let him know we don't like what he did.
I think it's a waste of time, to be honest
Oh,
with you.
I'm going. Book
Waste.
my ticket right now.
All right.
Going.
We'll go next week when the hurricane's here.
That would be a great time to go when
Yeah.
the hurricane's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Wow.
they should send him all of Al's movies and make him watch them on repeat.
Every single, what a
Yes,
great
I
idea.
think that it should loop in his
Yes.
cell. And I think they should wallpaper the walls with all those scripts
Yeah, in the hot tub.
and make him
And
sleep in that
hot
damn hot
tub.
tub.
Yeah.
That's where you're sleeping. You're not getting a bed, you're getting a hot
No,
tub.
you get the hot
Figure it
tub.
out, Fred.
Exactly.
Yeah, we
Fred.
don't like Fred.
You're a bad, bad man, Fred.
He's just
bad.
You're a bad
ridiculous.
man, Fred.
He was really mean.
Super mean to
I
Al. And Al was brilliant. That's
I know. Al's
Who knows
biggest- I
what
think
other
Al
potential
fell
Al
apart
could have
when
had
he
out
lost
there.
the love of his life. And then he went off the rails a little bit when he befriended somebody from a gas station.
listen, sometimes you're just so lonely. You'll take anybody,
I know.
even if it's a guy at a gas station.
I understand that, but we need to start a movement to let's get people to not do that.
No, I'll be your friend.
Yeah, go to the YMCA and make a friend there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but don't go to the gas station.
Yeah.
Don't go to
No.
the gas
None
station.
of the gas
No,
station.
that's
That's where you
just-
get a Coke and some chips.
But not a friend.
Yeah, not a friend.
I'm saying be nice to everybody at the gas station.
Oh
because
God,
you
yeah,
should be
because you don't
always
know who's going
nice.
to try and kill you.
But I'm just saying, don't take them home with you.
Don't do it.
Mm-mm.
So that was a crazy, crazy story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Antonio.
Yeah,
I'm
and
so
now-
glad you liked it.
Well, we loved it, and you know
Yeah.
where Fred is. So
I
next
mean,
time
he's
you tell
closer to
us-
Nowhere near
California
us.
than we are.
Well, you're closer to California than we
I'm
are.
closer.
Yeah.
So you
You might
probably
have to
could
go
get
throw
to
baloney at him.
INDIO, INDIO, and India was its name. So,
All right. Well, I still have like 7 minutes for my bread to cook, and then it's got to cool. If
Look
you
what
have
I
something
have.
very quick,
I
I could
have.
probably fit in one more
yes,
story.
I do. I can do it. And I'm just going to tell you, story is crazy.
In a world with so many movies to choose from, one hero will rise. The Movie Wire Podcast with host Justin Henson. Tune in wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right. The first thing I want to do is I want to tell y'all a story that you're going to think is not connected to this story, but it is connected to this story. But you can't find out why it's connected until the end of the story.
All right.
It's a little bit complicated, so put your smarticles hat on. Okay?
I'll do it.
Take your dumb hat off and put your smart hat on.
You know what? Shut your mouth with
F
the dumb
you.
hat. That's a big F you.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Mama? She was mean. It was uncalled for.
I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't mean to be mean-spirited. I
There you
kinda did. Here we go. Ready? Okay. So last night, my daughter and I went to a medium reading and a breathwork class afterwards. And at the medium reading and the breathwork, that's where the medium reads different people in the room. My daughter and I did not get read. We were okay with that.
Right.
Because we enjoy listening to other people's stuff. And then afterwards, we had this breathwork class. And then at the end of the night, it was like a little after 9, we were little hungies. And so we went to, we ended up at this place in North Charleston that is like an Irish pub. And because, we know bars and bar foods are available probably till midnight.
They're good for a good nuggie, a late night nuggie.
We had more than just a late night nuggie, I'm just going to tell you.
I have no doubt.
So, but after we ate, so we talked about, what we had experienced. And after we ate, we were walking to the car and I mentioned to her that I was in a world of hurt because I had not found a murder yet for today. And usually it takes me 3 days to research murder.
Exactly.
So as we're walking past this bar that was 2 doors down from the restaurant, she casually mentioned that she had seen on Netflix a show about confessions.
Oh,
and
right.
she said they actually cover a murder that happened right here at this bar called The Mill.
No way.
And I was like, get out of here. So I got up this morning and I was like, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to research this murder. There wasn't a lot on the murder, but that's the murder I'm covering.
That's good because we don't have a lot of time.
Okay, so here we go. I am going to talk to you about Teresa Haught. Haught. Hught.
Okay.
Would that be Haught?
Sure.
Okay. She was born June 22nd, 1960 in Farmville, Virginia.
Really?
Yeah, we know where that is.
We do.
So she actually was living in North Charleston in 1997. She was the bar manager of this Mill Inn Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in North Charleston, which the area that it's in now, it's a little bit up and coming.
Right.
And it's really cute. Back then,
Not so much.
a little bit of a seedy part
Right.
of town.
Right.
On March 13th, 1997, a 911 call comes out for a fire at the Mill Inn Tavern, which is a bar, like I said, in North Charleston, in an area now known as Park Circle. Once the fire was extinguished, the body was discovered in the bar. A body was discovered in the bar.
Oh, no.
And of course, it was very burned.
Oh, no.
It was the body of Teresa Haught.
I'm sorry, Teresa.
Yes, like I said, she was the manager of the bar, and she was known to occasionally sleep at the bar after a late night closing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she would just lock the doors and go to sleep, I guess, in a booth. I don't know.
I mean, I could see
Maybe
that.
she kept a cot in the back. I don't know what
Maybe.
she did.
Yeah.
Next to her body was a broken wine carafe.
Oh.
She had been struck in the head with it.
Oh.
And also there was a hair in her hand.
Oh.
And there was a watch on the floor near her body. And there was a bloody dollar bill that was in her pants pocket.
A bloody dollar bill in her pants pocket?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That is weird.
So, but for a bar, when you think about it, it's not a lot of concrete evidence because think about how many people are in and out of a bar just in a night.
Right.
And
True.
as much as we like to think we don't, we leave our DNA everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
We just spread it on like confetti.
Yeah.
Like it's just a sprinkle of
Yeah,
DNA
everybody,
here.
everywhere. You got it.
And you just move and your DNA shakes off like a
Oh,
Christmas
let's
tree
don't
in
think about
July.
it. Let's just don't think about it.
Okay. So yeah, just skip the whole page. What did I do? Okay, so as the fire investigation was going on, at the crime scene. A man arrives at the scene and he tells the fire chief that the car parked out front was his girlfriend's.
Oh, no.
And his girlfriend is Teresa. And so the fire investigator breaks the news to him that Teresa has burned in the fire and it looks like it was murder.
Oh.
And he interviewed this guy. His name is Wesley Myers. He interviewed him at the scene just to get some information, like
Right.
blah, blah, blah. Why would she be here, overnight?
Yeah.
or
Why?
whatever?
What's the deal?
So he explained that Teresa often slept at the bar and he was on his way to work. It was like 7-ish. He was on his way to work and he was stopping by to check on her because that was what he did a lot. He would just drive by the bar and if her car was there, he would like knock and check on her, make sure she was okay and tell her good morning.
I'm going to go check the bread, but you keep going.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Hold on to your horses.
Well, my horses are in the
I'm all
stable.
ears over here. So
Thank you. All right. So Wesley left and went home and called a bunch of his friends. He was quite upset. He was crying. Later on, after one of his friends got off work, he went and got him and they went out. They wanted to go just talk somewhere in private. So they actually went out on a friend's boat and sat and talked and they drank and they talked and he reminisced about Teresa. He had a picture of Teresa that he was carrying around with him. He was just very distraught. It got really late and he didn't want to go home. So this guy took him to the only bar close to them at the time, which happened to be open in the wee hours of the morning, which was a strip club. So Wesley and his friend sat in a booth away from the dancers and they continued to talk and to drink. But he said, I was really worried about how distraught he was. So then Wesley told the friend, I want to spend the night at Teresa's house. He had a key to her house. So he wanted to go and spend the night there because he just was so distraught. He wanted to be close to where she lived, to her stuff. So this friend got really, really concerned. And so they left the bar and he took him over to Teresa's. But the guy said, I didn't want to leave because I was so afraid he was going to commit suicide. That's how distraught he was. So Wesley slept in Teresa's room. And Wesley slept in Teresa's room. And the friend, this is how concerned he was. He actually slept on one of the stairs close to because Teresa's room was upstairs. He slept on one of the stairs, on one of the steps in front of the door. So if Wesley got up during the middle of the night, he would have to step over him and this guy would wake up because he didn't want Wesley to leave without him knowing where he was going, because that's how much he thought his friend was going to do something bad to himself. So the next morning, Wesley went home and his dad told him that the police had been calling and they needed him down at the station. So Wesley just drove straight to the station. And they asked him at the station, would he take a lie detector test? And he said, sure, I'll take a test. I'll do whatever I need to do. They interviewed him first. And the first question was, how much alcohol have you had over the past 24 hours? And he said, I had a case of Budweiser probably over the last 24 hours. And they said, how much is a case? And he said, 24 cans. I would be knee walking. But this was over the course of a day. And this was a guy who, drank. He habitually drank. So it's not like he had no resistance like me. The detective asked him several times if he had killed Teresa. And Wesley, every single time, adamantly said no, over and over and over. And then the detective said, why wouldn't you kill her?
What?
Why wouldn't you kill her? Isn't that a weird question? And Wesley said, because I love her. And I'm not the kind of guy that would commit a crime like that, but I love Teresa. Then the cop said, it's okay to beat women if you're in a rage. What? The cop said it.
What?
The cop said, I've even pushed my pregnant wife down twice when we were in an argument, and it's fine. It just happens.
He must be one of the men that goes to the courthaus steps on Sundays and beats his wife because it's legal in the state.
So he said, it's just one of those things that happens. It's okay if that's what happened between you and Teresa. And again, Wesley's like, dude, first of all, I never hit Teresa. And second of all, you shouldn't hit people.
I'd be saying, did you kill her?
I'd be like, is anybody hearing this?
Like, what's happening?
Yes. So then the cop says, do you think there's any evidence at the scene that we have found that would belong to you? Wesley said, no, because I wasn't there. And he said, well, when was the last time you talked to Teresa? And he explained that his son, who he had a son. He had been married before, and his wife, when their son was 3 months old, was diagnosed with terminal cancer and 3 months later died.
Oh,
So
God.
he raised this son by himself, but that's why he lived with his parents.
Mhm.
So he said he had picked his son up from school at 3:45, and they went home and they called Teresa, and they both talked to Teresa at 4:00 that afternoon, but he did not go out that night. His hair shouldn't be found at the scene. Nothing should be found.
Right.
So the detective said, well, there was a hair in her hand. Was it yours? And he was like, no, again, wasn't there, wouldn't kill her, love her. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help you figure it out. And the cop said, well, what if we found out it was your hair? He said, I would freak out.
Yeah.
I would freak out. The detective asked Wesley, do you think that the hair found in her hand would be the murderer's hair?
Well, who knows that? What is
And
the matter
Wesley
with
was
this cop?
like, I guess.
But what is the matter? What is his name?
This detective?
Yes.
I shall not release it. I shan't.
Oh my
I
God.
shan't.
Is he still employed?
I don't, probably. He probably is retired by now, but yes.
I'm going to
employed.
jail.
I know. So police said to Wesley at that point, and now granted, it's been hours. He's been here hours.
Right.
And they said, you know what? You're not fit to take a lie detector test. Not today. You're going to need to go home and sleep. You're too tired.
Okay.
And Wesley was like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. So they said, yeah, we'll pick you up. Okay. I just want to tell you that this whole interview was filmed
Okay.
through what they call a tissue box camera.
Oh.
Okay. Sitting on the table in the interrogation room, and it's black and white and it's very grainy,
Right.
but it picked up all of the audio.
Okay.
All right. Just want to let you know.
It's weird though that they secretly filmed it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You would think that they would have to let you know that you're being filmed.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just don't understand the point. They're questioning him. He knows he's being questioned. Why not film it?
I don't know. I can't.
Okay.
So Saturday morning comes and the police officer picks him up and they go to breakfast.
They went to breakfast?
They went to breakfast. Well, you gotta eat breakfast. It's the most important part of the day.
Okay.
I don't eat breakfast till noon, but still it's important. They go back to the interrogation room, and there are a table full of detectives sitting around talking about all the evidence that has been found and the details that they know about the case and where the investigation is going. So Wesley sits down with them and he's thinking, I'm part of this crew. Like I'm part of, we're trying to figure it out. And he's listening to all the evidence that was found and everything.
I mean, it's only been a day, so it's not like they could have gotten any DNA evidence back, right?
Thank you. He's there. He's there to pass the polygraph and to help solve the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he is in his brain. But before the polygraph started, the detectives start talking about the hair that was found,
right,
and how God had put it there to help solve the case, because whoever belonged to the hair was surely Teresa's killer.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused about the hair, but let's keep going.
So just so you know, there is no recording of him being at the station on Saturday.
Of course not.
No audio and no video of this whole exchange that's happening. At one point in the investigation, in the interrogation process, the detective actually leaves. He gets a phone call and he leaves and he comes back. He comes back and says, well, the worst has happened. The hair was a perfect match to you, Wesley.
I just don't believe it.
And the detective said, I can even pinpoint which part of your head it came from.
I don't
That's
believe
how
that either.
perfect a match it is. Well, Wesley completely freaked out.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Completely freaked out. And police told Wesley that he must have passed out that night, driven in his passed out state to the bar, had a confrontation with Teresa, killed her.
Wait, he drove passed out?
He drove passed out, killed her, lit the place on fire, and left.
Mm-hmm.
And then went home. And that's why he doesn't recall. But it had to have happened because his hair was in Teresa's hand. It's there. Like, how can you explain this? And
I still don't know how a hair survived a fire. I got no idea on that. Like how it was a fire.
It was a fire. She
badly.
was burned. Like I accidentally saw her pictures and she was burned. But there's this pristine hair sitting in her fingers.
That is not. There's something very bad
Isn't
about
that
this.
weird?
It's very bad.
It's been hours, right? It's been hours he's been in here with these detectives that are hounding him about this hair, hounding him. And he's with 3 detectives, and it's just Wesley in this room. They said, you not only have you killed this woman, but you need to apologize. You need to apologize for killing your girlfriend. And he was like, I do? And they said, yeah. Then they said, and we now have an eyewitness that put you at the bar that night. Jesus. All of a sudden, on a Saturday, they have an eyewitness. Well, they haven't left the room except to take a call about the hair. They said that they had also found a bloody print in his trunk, and his bloody print was on the dollar bill in her pants pocket. How could he say he wasn't there? He needed to confess. They actually put down crime scene pictures of her burned body in front of him.
Lord have mercy.
They were so gory, and you could see her face was bloody.
Oh my Lord.
And both of her eyes were black and swollen.
Stop
She had been
it.
beaten to a pulp.
For
and then
heaven's
burned.
sake.
And it really upset him seeing his girlfriend like that.
It upsets me.
So he was very shaken up. So he's looking and he's like, okay, well, he finally said, they said, you did that to her. You did that to the love of your life. Like, what were you thinking? You need to confess. And so they said, maybe you don't remember doing it. Maybe you don't think you did it, but we have proof that you did it.
Oh.
Yeah. Exhausted. Wesley said, I guess I did it then.
Oh no.
I must have done it.
Oh,
He said,
no.
I don't know why I would do that. I love her. Then they said, okay, well, we're going to bring Teresa's mom to the station because you need to apologize to her.
What is happening right now?
I am verklempt about the actions of this police department. Verklempt. I don't even know if that's a word, but it is now. They bring her to the station and he apologized. He said, I'm sorry I killed your daughter. I don't know why I did it. I love her, but I guess I did it. She's like, I accept your apology and I'm really pissed at you for killing my daughter, and left.
Okay.
So while he was with Teresa's mom, Dixie, I love that name.
That's a nice name.
Police were typing out his confession for him, which is really nice of them, right?
Yeah.
Like they typed it out for him and everything. He didn't even have to write it himself. And then they read him his confession and told him to sign it. I actually have the confession that I'm just going to read. It's very short, so don't panic anybody. But this is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. His confession says, on March 13th, 1997, about 2:00 or so, I drove to the Mill Inn to check on my girlfriend, Teresa. I parked my truck beside her Mercury parked in the front. I went to the front door and knocked. Teresa came to the door 5 to 10 minutes later. It's not uncommon for me to go by and check on her at closing time. There was no one in there. I don't think there was. While I was in the bar, I found a pink note on the bar. It was a note signed by Alan White. I think it said that I'll see you later and was signed by him. So I thought there was something going on. I had seen Alan pinch her and kiss her on the lips before.
Jesus.
I asked her about the note. She said it was none of my business. And she pushed me by the chin and chest very hard. I told her to stop pushing me. And she hit me in the chest with her fist and pushed me up against the bar. And I told her, don't hit me. And she grabbed a glass wine carafe, which they spelled it craft.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And she told me to get away, and I grabbed the carafe from her, and then she pushed me in the face. I struck her in the center of the head with the wine carafe. Both of us went down to the floor like a blur. I lost control. I went around the corner of the counter of the bar. I believe I held her for a while on the floor before I went to the counter. I think I struck her twice. I was raged, upset, real mad. I couldn't believe what she was saying. She called me a fool. I grabbed the closed on Sunday sign and some papers and anything around me, and I lit it with a lighter. I remember I wanted to die. I wanted to burn up with her. So I sat there and closed my eyes, but the fire got really hot. So I went out the back door. I went around to the front, got my truck. I put a purse behind my seat of the truck. I don't remember what I did with the purse. I drove home. I forgot to mention that I opened the cabinet door, the cabinet behind the bar, looking for something to burn.
Did Al White write the confession?
Like,
Hello.
how crazy is that?
That sounds like the person that did it wrote the confession.
I don't know who Alan White is.
I don't either, but hey, can we say lawyer up, Wesley? Lawyer up.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, this guy thought
I
he was
know.
going to help solve. He was so
And this back in
distraught.
97 before
Yeah.
we knew
Yeah,
to
Well,
lawyer up fast.
I know. We know now, but a lot of people don't know.
Ugh.
So anyway, he writes the confession. or he signs the confession. Okay. Wesley signs it and he is convinced that he has killed his girlfriend. He is so upset.
Aw.
So then they say, hey, Wesley, the news media is out in the back of the station, and we think you need to go apologize to the world for what you've done.
What is happening?
So they handcuff him and they march him outside to the waiting media. Well, there was a news reporter that was interviewed that I saw on the confession
Right.
show. And she was one of the people that had been called. She had been called that morning, and the police told her, we know who the murderer is. We're going to arrest him, and he's going to want to make a statement. So you're going to want to be there.
Wow.
So she went thinking, I'm going to get an exclusive. And she gets there, and it's a media circus. They've called everybody. Everybody.
What is happening? What is happening right now?
So they march him out to the steps, and he just stands there. And I mean, there's lights flashing in his face. There are people with microphones just waiting, and he doesn't know what to say. So this reporter just says, do you have any remorse for what you did? And he starts out and says, not answering her question, he said, I want to apologize to the family of Teresa Haught. I've committed a crime that I cannot take back.
Oh, Wesley.
Wow.
They asked him some specifics, like how many times did you hit her? And he said, I'm not sure. And they asked him other specifics, and he said, I don't really recall. So he doesn't know any of the details. He just knows he did it.
Right.
And he confessed on live television.
Oh,
it was
buddy.
the scoop of the century at that point in this area. And all he said was, I can't take it back, and I don't know why I did it because I love her very much.
Right.
Bless his heart. So another suspect was initially arrested. He had tried to force his way into the mill that night, but he had been told he couldn't come back because he had been very aggressive with some of the female bartenders and with Teresa. And so she told him he couldn't come back. So the bouncers wouldn't let him in, and he was trying to force his way into the bar. And he was like really acting weird. He actually got in, and he was like acting weird around the bartenders and
Right.
all that stuff. So he was originally arrested, and they did take his blood for DNA, but they never processed it.
Oh,
Once
for
Wesley
God's sake.
confessed, no need for that blood. That blood was destroyed.
This is killing me.
He goes to trial. He is found guilty. But by the way, the hair, they never did DNA on it.
Of course they did.
They just did a microscope match under the microscope. So it was the hair was found similar to his hair, but it was just a microscopic match. It could be, you could match 1 million people with that.
Of course.
The DNA was never done, and the hair was lost.
Of course it was.
The hair was lost.
Of course it was.
Yes. So the only concrete tie with him to this murder was his confession. And they said in court he's confessed 3 times.
Oh, for God's sake.
Right, because he confessed in the interrogation room, then he apologized to Dixie, and then he confessed in front of the whole world.
Jiminy crickets.
He is found guilty, and he is sentenced to 30 years.
Oh.
16 years go by, probably less, and there's the family finds this attorney that works for like the defense fund.
Oh, right.
Right. So he starts looking at this, and his old defense attorney, they start looking at it together. And I mean, the injustices were ridiculous.
Right.
Well, by then DNA is really easy to obtain.
Sure.
So they actually did DNA analysis on the dollar bill and one other thing, I think the carafe.
Okay.
The pieces of the carafe. None of it was Wesley's.
Of course it wasn't.
None of it was Wesley's. So finally he gets a new trial. Not an exoneration, a new flipping trial. So he's got to go through it again. So 16 years later, he's going to a new trial. The DA came to him and offered a plea deal.
What?
Wesley and his attorney wanted an Alford plea. And just so people know, an Alford plea is when you stand up in court and say, I'm not admitting guilt or innocence. What I'm saying is you have enough evidence that it makes me look guilty. That's an Alford plea. The DA said, no, we're not taking that.
No.
The only way that we're going to go through this deal is if you stand up in court and confess one more time.
For heaven's sake.
And we're going to give you, for doing that, we're going to give you 16 years for manslaughter, which happens to be exactly how much he had served. So he would then be able to leave jail.
Right.
And at that point, Wesley just wanted to be out of jail. He was this destroyed him.
Of course it did.
So Wesley took the deal. And even though there was not one single physical evidence pointed to Wes, he took it and he got out. He got he got out of jail in 2017 because when he got a new trial, he was able to post bond. He had a lot of friends that posted bond for him because there were so many people that never believed it was him, including his mother, who was a principal in the Charleston school system. And she said he never left our house. He was home with me and my husband and his son.
Right.
Anyway, he got out of, so 2017, he got out. And then there was a woman who he had known since he was 10 that she went and visited him every single week and played gin rummy with him every single week while he was in jail.
Oh.
And he actually moved in with her.
Oh, good.
They had become really best friends and had started to fall for each other.
Nice.
So he went and lived with her. So July of 2020, he finally was released on everything. Everything. July of 2020, he signed the deal. Everything's good.
Right.
Well, Wesley Max Myers died September 23rd, 2021.
Oh.
And I just want to let you know that September 23rd, 2022 was last night.
It sure was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I honestly believe that my daughter and I had gone to this mediumship breathwork class, and you were very, like, you become really in touch with your higher self. It's just an amazing experience. And I think because we were on that vibration and we were near that bar,
Right.
I think Teresa and Wesley both needed this story to be told.
Yeah. So the murder was never solved.
No, because they closed the case because he confessed.
Wow.
Close the case.
They
That's
closed it.
crazy.
That is an amazing story.
Isn't that crazy?
See, at first I thought that the police were like just doing a bad cop, good cop kind of thing, trying to make him feel comfortable so he would release more information. But no, that just sounds like corruption through and through.
It
Yeah.
was so bad. So the reason that he got a new trial was because of their tactics in the interrogation,
Yeah.
mainly.
That makes sense.
They lied. They did not have an eyewitness.
No.
They did have an eyewitness that came to court and testified, but she had a beef with him. And she was not on the list of witnesses.
Right.
She literally walked into court one day and during the trial and said, I can put him in that bar.
Oh,
And the
God.
judge let her get on the stand without any pre-interview from the other side. It was so stupid.
Well, and shame on his attorney for not blocking that.
His attorney did everything. He tried. He objected and everything.
Oy.
His attorney did everything he could. This guy was railroaded.
He was. It's so sad.
Yes, and he died. He died. After all of this, he finally gets out of prison to enjoy his life that he's missed so much.
And he died.
And he died.
That's so sad. That's such a Debbie Downer.
I'm sorry. It is
Too
a
many
Debbie Downer, but I
crickets.
got to tell you, I believe wholeheartedly that these two people wanted this story told.
No doubt about it.
And it
Yeah, I
does not
agree.
escape me that the anniversary of his death
Was
was
yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were randomly over walking past that bar when my daughter brought that
That's
up.
crazy.
Wes, rest in peace, buddy. And I really hope that he and Teresa are together forever.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
and they can continue to celebrate their love.
Yes.
So, but Anne has bread.
I have bread. Can you see it?
So, can you see it, Antonio?
It's gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful?
I wish I
beautiful.
could smell it.
Oh,
Oh,
we're
it
here to
smells so
taste
good.
somebody because it is. Oh, it's so beautiful.
I'm just going
too.
to pull a piece off.
Listen, it's pull apart, so we're just going to pull some.
Yeah.
Because oh God.
Oh, that's really
Can
good.
you see the cinnamon and the apple? Can
Yeah,
you see this?
it
Antonio, do you
looks
want me to get closer?
amazing.
Let me just
And like
tell
I
our
said, I'm
listeners.
just glad it's not pumpkin.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Oh, apple is the OG of
Yeah.
fall.
I found this recipe on a website called Tastes of Lizzie Tea. Taste of Lizzie Tea. And we'll post a link
We'll
in our
post a
show
link in our
notes.
show notes.
Mhm.
And if anybody can't find it, they can always email us.
Yeah.
Antonio, how do people get in touch with you, buddy? Because you're an amazing guy and we adore you.
Oh, thank you so much. I adore you as well. I'm so glad that we are just in that little collective
Me
and that we
too.
can keep supporting each other's shows. It's just the best. I'm so happy to have found y'all and your podcast. And I don't listen to true crime podcasts. The fact that you had me on yours to be able to share this true crime of mine and to listen to your amazing opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oh,
You can
no,
find
I'll
me
come in.
on thecultworthy.com is my website where all of my reviews and blogs are, but it's also where all my links to my podcasts, as well as links to all of my podcasting friends like Sugar Coated Murder can be found as well.
Yes.
So find me there.
Fantastic.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
thank you again.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to find us, I mean, I know we don't
Just
have
send
the
us an
velvet.
email. We love an email.
I know we don't have the velvet voice of
No,
Antonio, but just send us an email anyway.
murder.sugarcoated@gmail.com.
That's us, and we're on Believe Network, and then all these other podcast places. We're at the places. So
yeah,
Antonio, God bless you for coming on our show. We just adore you.
we adore you, and we hope very much that you will stay sweet and don't murder.
If you kill people, we will talk about you.
And we won't do it in a velvety voice.
We will not use a velvety voice.
No,
we won't.
All right, everyone, have a great week.
This
Thanks,
has been
y'all.
Sugar
Y'all come back
Coated
soon.
Murder Podcast, a deliciously
Bye.
entertaining true crime podcast. Like what you heard? You can always explore past episodes by visiting sugarcoatedpod.com. Don't forget to like our Facebook fan page and share with friends. Thanks for listening to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.
Hey, Cincinnati, Ohio. Right now, here are the most in-depth Cincinnati Bengals coverage with Believe in Bengals, part of the Believe Network. Hear from me, Solomon Wilcots, and my co-host, Adam Pac-Man Jones, as we break down the Cincinnati Bengals before and after every game throughout the NFL season. Your team, your podcast. Search Believe, BLEAV, in Bengals, wherever you get your podcasts.